Hey, happy campers, Todd here, Great American, and today we're taking a deep dive into the 2026 Thor Axis 24.1. Let's go ahead and check out the specs on this little Axis. You're equipped with a Ford 7.3 liter V8 sitting on a Ford E350 chassis, giving you 325 horsepower, 450 pounds of foot torque, a gross vehicle weight of 12,500 pounds, and a gross cargo weight rating of 18,500 pounds. So that's some significant cargo we can add into this unit. You have a 15-foot 8-inch wheelbase with an exterior length of 25 foot 8 inches, an exterior height with the AC at 11 feet, so pretty short unit. And we also have the exterior width of 7 foot 10 inches without the mirrors, so add about 8 inches to that on each side, and you have about an extra 16 inches, so a little over 8 feet. We have a seat belt capacity of 5 people. Interior height is 6 foot 10 inches in this little unit, which is pretty amazing. You have a 16-foot awning, 55-gallon fuel capacity, 40.9 pounds of LP. Fresh tank coming in at 41 gallons, wastewater at 30, gray water at 40. You do have a tankless water heater, a 35,000 BTU furnace, a 15,000 BTU AC. And what's really cool is this thing can tow. The hitch weight on the back is 8,000 pounds. Let's take a deeper dive into this little Axis and why it packs such a punch for such a little unit. All right, so we're back on the front of our unit. We notice a nice, slick European design with that curve on the front cap. And it actually kind of angles here on the side, which is really unique too. What's also very unique is how tiny this is and the cost, okay? So we're looking at a Class A for a Class C price. That's right. MSRP is $172,000. Great American gives tremendous savings. I'm not gonna give you the price. If you want it, go click on the link in the details of this video and get our current pricing, because we may be saving you more now than when we made this video. So with that being said, we're gonna dive back in and see the tremendous features we get in this unit. So on the front, LED headlights. We also have the halogen bulbs on the fog lights and the other lights. We do have access to our engine under the hood here. Now, it does pay to be a little bit shorter as far as accessing this stuff. Our ground clearance is fairly low, but everything's pretty easy to get to. Washer fluid, checking our oil. Fill oil would be a little bit harder for maintaining this unit on our own, but don't forget we do have a doghouse on the inside that we can pull off and gain access to the top of our engine. So maintenance wise, looking at, pretty easy access to everything for the most part, okay? Easy to close that up. We do have the little barrel key to go ahead and lock these in. Big windshield, so we'll take this for a test drive in a little while and check out what our view is traveling down the road. Ample windshield wipers to cover that mass area right there. You do have driving lights on when the ignition's on, we have that. Over here we do have the tri-camera system, so that means we have cameras on both of our mirrors on each side to cover our blind spots, and we'll have it on the back as well. Blacked out rims right here with our hand-cooked tires. Substantial for the weight on the unit. And then in our first compartment, we'll notice all of our compartments have our thumb latches. Kind of a thin door, but substantial for what we're getting on the price point of this unit. In our first compartment, we'll notice that we have some storage in here, some fuses for our chassis. We also have our controller for our Schwintek slide right here. So if anything goes haywire, it is easy access to get to that. We'll also notice in all of our storage bins, nice hard plastic, no carpet, not like that, nothing to mold, mildew. We have a drain plug right there we can pull loose and go ahead and clean out. Of course, with this being electrical in there, I wouldn't hose that one off, but in our other compartments, we can hose it down and drain it out. You also have lighting in each compartment too, controlled by one switch on the inside. You can turn all your cargo lights off and on. Compartment right behind it, we're gonna have that 40 pounds or 40.9 pounds of LP in there, accessible for fill, easy to get to. Our next compartment right here, we have our black and gray tank dump where valves are easy to access. We do have a little cover here at the bottom to pull loose, and we would bring our drain hose down here through the bottom and be able to open those valves up to drain them out. Never forget that black tank needs to stay closed all the time. Unless you are dumping your gray tank, you can actually keep open so you don't have to keep going out there and dumping it. Speaking of tanks, there's one of them right there. That is your black tank. And so sensors, everything are easy to access for all that stuff. It is exposed to the weather, so keep that in mind, cold weather, stuff like that. You may want to go ahead and have antifreeze in that tank because it's not going to be protected. You don't have heated storage bays for any of that stuff. Above that, of course, your outdoor shower, hot and cold, nice and convenient over here on the side. Our city water connection right here to be able to supply water to our unit. We also have our cable connection here on the side for park cable, 30 amp service, twist that in, lock it in, get a little green light up top, lets you know it's powered up, and we have power to our unit. Behind that, we do have our black tank flush, which is convenient for when we are dumping that tank. If you want tips and tricks on how to flush your black tank, check it out in Hap's Helpful Hacks, a little playlist that gets a lot of hits on our YouTube channel. Behind that, we have our unleaded fuel fill right there. And down below this exterior compartment, we have our 4000E generator right here to be able to gain access for any maintenance or anything. Fairly easy. We'll pull this cover off. Little wiggle to try to get it out, but really not that bad. We do have controls, turn this off and on the interior. But as far as maintenance goes, fairly accessible and easy to get to. Stick that back in. See, no cuts. It was real quick and easy, right? This is probably one of my favorite parts of this unit, the ample storage in the back and 3 different ways to get to it. Very large access door here, big one here, and big one on the other side. So we can pack a lot of stuff in the back of this unit, which is really awesome because our storage is kind of limited on the side. They went ahead and made room, and we don't have to gain access to it from underneath our bed or anything. We can get it all from here, which I think is pretty awesome. We have that 8,000 pound weight rated hitch right there on the bottom, along with a 7-way plug. So towing behind us, a little vehicle, not that bad. Have our ladder right here. Let's go gain access to the roof and see what we got up there. All right, we're up here on the top of our roof. This is our front cap right here. We can see our transition seam, and everything is pretty well covered as far as our sealant goes, but that's the #1 thing we need to check every 60 to 90 days. Checking our sealant around all of our fixtures and everything up here to make sure we're not having any open holes for any leaks. So we have our vent right here for our living room area, our wine guard antenna with our input for our antenna channels on our TV. That antenna in the front is going to be for our radio, Sirius XM stuff. We have our Coleman AC up here, plumbing vent, another vent, our skylight. Keep an eye on your skylights. Anything that has those plastic skylights, we want to check, make sure we don't have any cracks or anything starting to form. If we do, might want to get that skylight changed out. Solar panel right here, made by Go Power. We can go ahead and expand on this if we want. We have some ample space right here. Solar's always tricky. You know, they can be a little different on some units, but don't expect a ton from them unless you're really upgrading your unit to be able to go off grid. Max air vent here on the rear for our bedroom area. And then we have our rear transition. Pretty good sealant from the factory right off the back. I personally would go a little bit higher on some of these edges, but better than some of the other ones I've seen. You have a TPO rubber roof up here. Want to go ahead and clean that at least once or twice a year. Check for any scrape marks or anything like that. Make sure we don't have any holes in our unit, but more than anything, check our sealant every 60 to 90 days. Before we get down, we do have our slide room right there. We do have factory slide topper given to us on that unit to help protect us from any debris or anything like that from getting on there. Keeps us from having to get up and sweep that roof off, so that's a great addition. Under that, we do have the Turnabond tape across our fascia right there to protect those screws, but we do have some areas we do need to keep an eye on as far as sealant. Also need to keep an eye and make sure nothing gets blown up in there to tear up that wiper seal when we're retracting it. Now, that is a sunshade. You get some water on that slide topper, it will pull up and start to flex a little bit. So anytime we get water on here, roll your slide out in and go ahead and get the water off so it doesn't stretch that fabric. As we swing around to the door side of our unit, once again, access to that big storage bay here on this side, and we have a little drop down area where if we have something a little taller, we can put in there. Once again, thumb latches to close all that stuff up. And then I'll tell you now, it's a good idea to lock this as well, especially for weather events. If both of these aren't closed, you're not actually getting a good seal around your door, it can open it up to allowing water in if it's not properly closed. Moving on down the side, you do have a plug-in right here for a solar panel, external panel. If the one on the roof is blocked, you can get another panel, put it off to the side, plug it in right there. We can also have access to our quick spray port right here. Plug that in, have a little shower nozzle, spray your feet off, and easily stored right back in there on the side. Have our freshwater connection right here. This is going to be for our onboard fresh tank. So to come with us when we're traveling down the road, maybe we're going somewhere that doesn't have city water, pull that cover off, we can stick our hose in and fill up that fresh tank. But don't forget, that's extra storage on our unit, or extra weight on our unit rather. So if you don't need it, don't fill it up all the way. Maybe we're just using it for pit stops, to use the bathroom while we're traveling down the road. So you don't have to fill it up unless you need it. We'll look in a little while under the chassis where our drain ports are for all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. Have our Suburban tankless water heater right here. We can open it up. We have easy access to go ahead and do maintenance on that, as well as our furnace right here. Suburban furnace we talked about, it has easy access to this panel for any maintenance. Some of them just have this cover on the outside. You have to pull that whole thing out to do anything to it. So that's a great asset right there when it comes to maintenance down the road. Here on the side, a little quick connect for our LP. If we want to put an external grill or fire pit or anything, we can hook it up right there and it'll pull off of the propane on the other side. Another storage bin right here. We can go ahead and put chairs, whatnot in. As we move down, one thing that I like about it, you know, I'm not old or anything, but getting older, and as I think about that, or my parents, getting in and out of a unit, fairly low threshold right here. We don't have to worry about steps kicking out or anything. You can easily gain access to your grab handle here and step into your unit. So I really do like that. We do have a strut on our door to go ahead and keep it from swinging wide open and hitting our wall. 16-foot one-touch awning right here. Push a button, roll it out. You have LED lights on the end. Once again, an awning is a sunshade, not a rain shade, not hurricane proof, not storm proof, none of that. You get some high winds and stuff, you want to roll that thing in. This one should have a wind sensor on it. It's a Girard awning. Should have a little wind sensor on it that'll kick it in if things get too rough, but don't be relying on that. You got a bad storm coming in, roll that thing in ahead of time because it takes a little bit to get it in. You get rain, anything like that, you want to pull it in. That's a safety factor. You don't want that rain to puddle up on there and then everything dumped down beneath you, plus the insurance claim, all that, it's a mess, all right? So take care of your awning. Another unique feature about these front compartments is there's actually a little pass-through. You have about 5-6 inches right here at the top that passes through to the other side. Fishing poles, small table, something like that. So really cool that they found a way to actually give you some pass-through storage in such a small unit. Another camera here on the side. Let's go check out underneath the chassis if there's anything we need to look at there, and we'll check out the inside. We talked about temperature and our tanks being exposed to the weather. You do have the 12-volt heated mats on here, so it is going to help you a little bit with temperature. But once again, these are exposed to the elements. So you get too cold, you're going to want to make sure you have antifreeze in those tanks. That way the water doesn't freeze up on them. That's for your black and your gray tank. All right, so we can see right here behind our rear axle, got our gas tank right there. If we look up, we see this white PVC pipe sticking out. That's going to be the drain for our fresh tank. We'll see the valve for it on the inside of the unit. As we walk in, we do have access to our batteries right here. Now these are going to be our house batteries. You can see them connected right here, both 24 series batteries. Now these are going to once again power up everything in here whenever we're plugged in. Our converter is going to be charging these. When our engine is running, the alternator will also charge them while we're traveling down the road. So pretty easy access to that. We do have some 12-volt fuses here. There's 12-volt breakers there for different items in our unit. Let's step into the rest of it. As we walk into the door, we have our battery disconnect right here at the bottom. Real easy, turn on, turn off. When do we use that is the question. We use that anytime we're storing our unit and we're not plugged in. Okay, we turn that battery disconnect off to conserve the battery power in there. If we are plugged in, we're using the camper, even if we're not plugged in, we're just trying to run the slide outs out, that battery disconnect needs to be on, especially when we're plugged in because that converter needs to charge our batteries. As we look up, we have our BM Pro system to be able to control our slide outs, see our tank levels, all these things, turn our lights off and on, but we can also hook this to Bluetooth on our phone, download the BM Connect app, and we can do a lot of that stuff from our phone rather than have to do it right here. If we upgrade and we have internet on our unit versus using the Starlink or the WineGuard upgrade right there where we have internet on our unit, then you can link it there. Then it doesn't matter where you are, your phone's connected to it, and you can actually turn on your AC if you're away or different items like that. So really good system. BM Pro is really great for upgrades as well. We can add tire sensors to it, check our tire pressure and everything while we're traveling. We have our battery systems. We also have our climate control for our AC system. We have our fan operation for our bathroom and stuff right here as well. And then we can have our settings, of course, if we want a Bluetooth connect, internet connect, or if we have firmware updates that we need to do. BM Pro has a great integrated system on this little Thor Axis. Also above our entry door, we have our TV. As we're sitting from our couch right there, we can pull it out, angle it, shift it, any kind of direction right there. So pretty ample for the little small space we have in our living room. It works. Also in our living room, of course, we have our slide out that comes out and gives us a little bit more room. Not a deep slide, so it will give us some room to be able to access while we are traveling, which we'll show you a little bit later on. I like the couch. It does fold out into a bed. Another thing I like about our sofa as we form it back into a couch is these little posts on the side. We have a little swing arm, and they are adjustable, so we can use just this tabletop right here. As we pull that out, pull this piece out, we saw it was higher and more extended, or we can choose this option right here for just like a little cup holder right there on the side. So it gives you some options whenever we're eating, drinking, whatever. And once again, great view to our TV from either spot right here. Nice window behind us. We can crack our windows open. Tinted windows on here too, so that helps cut down some of the shade, which is great because we only have one AC in here, so we don't want to have to work it overtime. But it's probably 90 degrees outside right now. AC's been running for a couple hours. It's pretty cool in here, so really not too bad. One thing that I really like about these tabletops is usually you don't have a place to store them. You got to throw them in a drawer or something like that. Not with this. You know, these drop down. They actually have a little curve cut out for the knob of this table. Drop it in right here. We can store our tables here. We also have those other pieces that I talked about tucked away in the little elastic band there. So thought out as far as storage. That's something you don't see too often with just little things, and I surely didn't expect that on this little Thor Axis. Conveniently placed for that tabletop. So we have our sofa bed out right here. We have our drop down bed we'll talk about here in a minute. As far as access to get around, better than I thought it was going to be. I thought this bed was going to lift out a little bit further, but somebody can easily get up and still have access to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So let's talk about our drop down bed. Schwintek system on here. I know it's kind of scary, Schwintek on a bed lift, but the controls for it we'll show you here in a minute is right above the dash, so easy to get to if we do have to override that system. Our ladder right here can collapse very easily. Hit our little buttons and it collapses all the way down. Little strap, we can store it in our closet. Not much else to say about this. It does have a 500-pound capacity. We have to lean our chairs back a little bit to get it to drop all the way down, but our controls are right here on the side to be able to run that up and down. We do have a couple little safety pins that we drop in there before we hit the road to make sure that if something does fail, it doesn't drop down on our driver and passenger. While we're talking about that, might as well jump in the cab and see what we have to offer there. All right, let's say you do have company. Our front captain chairs do spin around. Have a little tabletop right here for your guests as well. TV can still be seen from there. If you want this person to see it, you have to shift it around, but it is doable. Not too much work to spin these around. The driver's seat is probably the hardest because you have to get around that steering wheel. All in all, it is capable of spinning around and we can entertain a few more guests. As we roll into our kitchen, we have our extra counter space right there that we can flip up and down, really easy to drop down. And then we also have our barrel sink right here. Pretty ample space to wash pots and pans. Not a huge kitchen area, but what we need to be able to survive. You figure this is probably a couple's coach, grandkids come every now and again. A lot of people cook outdoors. So it has the essentials. We have our stove top right here, little 2-burner gas stove, no vent to exhaust out right here. You could open up your windows, exhaust out that way, but no vent to actually pull that air out. Do have wireless charging right here for your phone. Have a microwave right beneath it. Pretty decent pot and pan storage around it. Once again, not huge amount, but you can only get so much in this type of unit. All our drawers are soft close. Our doors right here, have storage for our trash can, right? Right there, all of our doors and everything up here open up, and we have pretty ample storage for anything above it for small items. We do have our antenna booster right here located conveniently by our TV. Want to turn that on whenever we are searching for antenna channels and off when we're searching for cable, so we can pick up all the items in that. Behind that, pretty ample size refrigerator. One is an Envision, so it is a 12-volt fridge. Have access to everything. As far as, you know, tightness, yeah, it's kind of tight. You can only expect so much from this type of layout, right? 24-foot unit. We got a bathroom right here beside us, so you gotta be a little strategic as you're going in and out trying to grab stuff. Down below it, our breaker panel with our 12-volt fuse panel, 30-amp service. All your main breakers are gonna be right here. 12-volt fuses right here. Pretty easily accessible. We'll show you as we're traveling. We'll close this slide out and see everything that is accessible while you're on the road. This being one of them, which is a key item. If your slide out's closed, you wanna be able to gain access to this if something happens. Located below it will be your little converter right here. You'll hear a little fan running in there. That just means it's working and it's charging those batteries for your house system. Below that, you're gonna notice your furnace duct, which is great because there's nothing in the floor, so no dust traps for dirt and debris and everything to catch in the floor. You're gonna notice all your furnace ducts are located in walls right there. Speaking of furnace, if we pop this open right here, we do have access to our furnace vents right here. So maintenance wise, once again, if you're taking all this stuff apart, pulling that furnace out, easy access to that. We'll go ahead and pull this vent cover off right here, take a look, see what's behind there. All right, so 4 little screws to go ahead and pull that cover off, and we can take a look. We have our tankless water heater back here. We can gain access, and these kind of things are important, being able to gain access to our water fixtures, our hoses and everything. We need to check that kind of stuff every so often, especially after the winter time or going into summer. You have expansion and contraction. Want to check and make sure we don't have any leaks on these things, and be able to access them easily is fantastic, because otherwise we're probably not going to check it. We do have more access to this kind of stuff under our bed. We'll take a look at here in a minute. But we can see our furnace, our tankless water heater, easy to access with just 4 screws pulling that vent off. Above that vent down at the bottom, of course, we have our 2 drawers right here for more packing, more than likely your clothes, stuff like that. We do have a hang bar in here. We can hang some clothes in. This is also storage for our ladder for our bunk. We'll show you here in a little while, and our little tabletop that we can put in between the captain's chairs in the front. So pretty good, decent hanging room closet in there, because as we move into our bedroom, you have some overhead storage, but you know, overall storage is going to be tight once again in this little unit. Now you have twin beds, but we can throw this into a big full-size king bed in nothing but a second. Hard cushion bottom right there. Drop that down, and then we can throw our other cushion here. And in no time, we have a full-size bed. Now also in here, we're going to have a TV mounted on the wall. We have our controls for our Suburban water heater right here, as well as controls for all our lights. We also have controls to start and stop our generator from here as well, without even having to get out of bed. And if you've downloaded that BM Pro app, you can control your AC from right here as well. So really, no reason to get out of bed. I like the windows all the way around here, so it gives you a good panoramic view. And when you don't want it, you can drop those MCD shades down all around, and it will knock out most of the sunlight. So we've moved this cushion on this side out of the way, and under here we can gain access to our fresh tank. As we can see right here, fresh tank, we talked about the dump system. We turn that valve right there, we can dump our fresh tank. Over here we have controls for our BM Pro Connect, so pretty easy to get to all this stuff. I know there's a lot of mess of wires in here, so it can look pretty intimidating. But BM Pro has pretty good technical service. If we want to gain access and we have an issue, we can certainly do that. All this stuff is just kind of tied in, wire ties, so we can cut it loose, trace wires down if we need. Have access to, once again, all of our little plastic fittings right there that we want to check on a regular basis. And when wintertime comes around, what do we need to do? We need to winterize. So we have this connection right here. We can hook a hose to it, kick our water pump on, turn this valve right here, and we can pump out of that RV antifreeze jug and straight into our system. So as far as winterization goes, I give it an A. When it comes down to getting that taken care of, really easy access to all that stuff. And then with that, we'll have low point drains. If we look by our fresh tank valve right here, we have these little pins that we pull, and our low point drains drain out underneath our unit right there. So look up, we have our transfer switch that is going to swap between our generator and our shore power. So depending on which one's running, you'll hear a click in here, and then it's going to go ahead and shift power over to our breaker panel. Over here off to the side, we have our Go Power 10 amp controller for our solar coming in. That's changing our solar power into charging power for our battery system. That wraps up everything under this little compartment here, all our little guts on the inside of the unit. I'll swap over to the other side, see what we have underneath there. If we remove this little door right here, have some storage underneath that bed. Same thing right here. Have a little more storage, little cubby holes that we can have access to by just lifting that mattress there on the other side. All right, so now here's where things get interesting. We have our bathroom. How do we have that privacy? Well, forgot to mention privacy for our bedroom. Comes with a little slide shade here. We can hook to magnet. So it gives us a little privacy in there. Once again, you're not looking at having a lot of guests in this size unit. How do we have privacy for a bathroom? Let's check it out. So as me and my cameraman here, Mr. Kevin, get closely aligned in our little bathroom here, it's really not that bad. We open our two doors and they lock into magnets there on the side, expanding our bathroom area. Have a full-length mirror there on the side to be able to get dressed. We have our small sink right here, a little bit of storage underneath. Get into our shower, and I'm 5'7". I mean, you got a good another 8 inches or so. That gives you a little extra room. Detachable shower head if you're a little taller and need to work it. Shower curtain to pull around the side. So, you know, as far as your shower goes, you can expect to get a little bit of water on the ground. Just be mindful of that. It's not going to be for anybody that's probably any bigger than what I am. So not extreme space. As far as our toilet goes, pretty ample room for our toilet to be able to move around, do what we need to do in there. With our doors closed, it's going to be a little bit tighter, but really not that bad. Also on the passenger seat, let's say you're working from home or while you're on the road, you can drop this down, throw your laptop up here, nice and sturdy area to do some work while you're on the road. All right, as far as privacy in our front, we do have the curtains right here on the rail. We can go ahead and move and tie up here on the side, and we have our nightshade that drops down. Now, how much does it cover? Enough, we'll say. There still is some area right there that is kind of peekaboo area, I guess you could say, but all in all, it covers the bare essentials that need to be covered for your privacy at night. To be able to pull it back for travel, not too bad. Pull that around the ring, little Velcro strap. We're set up to drive. Our nightshade comes up. Our nightshade, as we'll see when we're driving, can drop down a little bit to provide us as a visor for the sun, but it does have a stop limit, of course, when that ignition is on. We'll see a better view of our windshield, that kind of curvature to the front. Nice European style, which is pretty neat. Ford chassis, so all your Ford stuff is going to be the same. Cruise control, our options to be able to work some of the things on the dash right here on our steering wheel. Have our fog lights, our regular lights, our mirror heat right here for our mirrors. We do have that, and we do have powered mirrors. We can adjust those to wherever we need them. Over here off to the side, we do have a 14-inch touchscreen display right here for our radio system. Our radio does play while we're parked, so if we're trying to entertain or anything like that, we can go to that. Have radio, Bluetooth option. You have CarPlay on here as well. So really set up for the best entertainment you could possibly have here in the driver's seat. Below that, traction control on or off. You have your nightshade control. generator start, as well as your cab light for right here above us. And of course, we have our AC controls and then our plug-in for our CarPlay to pop up here on the screen. That pretty much wraps up everything here in the front. We do have a little desk feature I like on the passenger side. We'll show you that. Flips out, and then you have that desk right here in front of you for any working. Down below here, as far as maintenance goes, we talked about the dog house here at the bottom, being able to pull that out and gain access to anything on that top end of the engine. It wraps up everything that I can think of in here. Let's close it up. Let's see what our access is to the bathroom, and let's hit the road with this little Axis and see how it does. All right, so our slide out's in. Of course, before you run your slide out in, you want to make sure your chairs are shifted up. We don't have any debris or anything in the way. As far as access goes, you have a ton of access. So even if you're pulled over at a small rest area or something, you can't run your slide out, you can go ahead and still have access to even this bunk in the front or your bedroom, bathroom, everything while you're on the road with the slide out in. Once again, access to go ahead and pack it up and hit the road if you don't have much room in your driveway. That wraps up everything as far as travel mode goes. Let's actually travel and see how it drives. All right, we're hitting the road. A couple of little things I talked about, that night shade. So we can go ahead and run it down, and it stops about right there, which gives us plenty of room for a sun visor if that sun's head on with us. And we, like I said, have this huge windshield right here that curves up. Gives us a great visual. The pillars on the side are kind of big, so I wouldn't say it truly blocks out any vision, but they are some pretty big pillars. As narrow as this unit is, you still have great vision. Right here on the side, these windows extend all the way. We have our camera system like we talked about. We put our blinkers on. This 14-inch screen is tremendous. You can see everything, backup camera the same way. So I like the fact that you can not only tilt this, but how big everything shows up on the screen. So it's not hard. You're not really peeking in to be able to make that decision in changing lanes. Let's bring it on the interstate and see what we got. All right, we're hopping on the interstate. Give that V8 engine a little rip and roar. Plenty of power to be able to get up and on the interstate. Of course, we don't have a vehicle behind us. We're not towing. We're rolling at 70 miles an hour right now. Once again, one-handed. Do this for most of the ride. More than likely, you're going to want to keep two hands on the wheel. But 70 miles an hour does pretty good. A little bit of shakiness around us, like vibrations through the unit. Pretty loud in the front as far as wind noise. Not substantial to where I would say I couldn't stand it, but for some people, it may not be your thing. Just keep that in mind depending on the roads you're traveling down. A little loud on the engine, but you got to remember it's right here below us. So we are going to hear that whenever we get on it. There's no big drifts or anything. We'll see if we can spot an 18-wheeler to pass us up, see how it does. But as far as get up and go, I think it has plenty for the weight of the unit. The engine is sized properly to be able to take it out on the highway. We have a low stance, so you don't have a lot of bobbing on the top end. So really easy to control, pretty comfortable driving down the road. We do have some sway bars and stuff on here to help us with travel on the road, wind conditions, so on and so forth. So it's spec'd out, I would say, pretty comfortably to drive down the road. We're going 55, 18-wheelers coming by us right now. I felt a little push right there at the beginning. See how we feel on the drag at the end? Nothing. So that low stance on this unit really helps when it comes to stabilization when we're traveling down the road. Really no wind today, so I can't give a whole lot of judgment about how it does on that, but I just really feel like as low as it is to the ground, it really holds well against those type of situations. Some of your bigger Class A's that have a higher ground clearance, you're going to be a little bit more top heavy. Of course, with the weight of this unit, that also helps too. As we approach this, we talk about our stoplights and stuff. Whenever we're getting, we set a Class A at a Class B price. Class A does not have our big overhang across the top like a Class C does. I think I said Class B a minute ago. I meant Class C. If we're stopped at a red light, we can see our red light clean and clear through this big old windshield right here. and we're at this stop sign, clean and clear, huge vantage points as far as when we're trying to negotiate. If we're up against something right here on the side, we can see it out our window. Really like the view up here in the front on our captain's chairs, and the drive is pretty good. Let's take it home. There's where you can find the Axis at Great American RV. All right, so let's recap our Thor Axis. What all do we get? We get a Class A for one with a Class C price. We get extra sleeping for our sofa bed, our bunk option. We have twin beds in the back. It can fold into a full-size bed. We have a E350 chassis with Ford V8, 8,000 pounds of towing behind us, ample cargo options on there. You're also going to have your BM Pro system, which is substantial on a little bitty unit like this. All in all, you get a lot of features for a great price point. Now, you're not taking this thing up in the mountains or anything. It's great for a couple's unit, hitting national parks, little small stuff here and there. I think it's a great entryway into a motorized unit. If you don't like the Class C option, this Class A option is for you. Once again, check out our price. Down in the details, you'll find the link, or go to greatamericanrv.com and type in Axis into keyword, and it'll show you our current inventory. If you need help, you want RV 101, you want helpful hacks, you want tours, you can find that on our YouTube channel for Great American RV. We have a ton of stuff. Give us a like, a follow, let us know how we're doing, leave a comment down in the section below, and let us know the next unit you want to see a walkthrough on with Great American RV, where we're making memories one weekend at a time.